be talking about my reflections on effective lesson planning. Um, my observations have mostly been with ESL teachers, with itinerant teachers, with pull-out ESL teachers, and also inclusion teachers. One thing that they always stress is lesson planning and being prepared. And so I'm just going to reflect on what I have observed. There are three things that come to mind when I have been observing the lesson plans of teachers. All of them have stressed the importance of, first, number one, looking at the standard. Number two, having and creating a strong objective. And number three, having assessments for students. Three, right? In that, you need activities. You need something for the students to do and show that they understand what you have been teaching. Because you can't, if you don't have a good objective, really, it's not going to be able to guide you effectively. A strong objective is what really will guide your entire lesson. The standard, when you're planning, it's very broad, and that's what teachers have told me as they explain their lesson planning and how they do it. It's very broad, so you really have to decide, what do you want the kids to learn? What do they need to learn? As a whole, your objective has to be strong, and what I observed was that a strong objective, you use strong words like analyze, evaluate. There's other ones, so many. But what's helpful and what they mentioned to me when I was observing them was to look at Bloom's taxonomy and go into the level where their students are in the category of creating and evaluating and analyzing, those levels, because they were saying you can pull more from them and you're going to push them, you're going to challenge them. And they're going to be able to develop higher order thinking skills and critical thinking skills. So another thing is assessments. How are you going to know if your students are actually learning the objective, if they understand how to do that skill? The assessments are important for that, to let you know and to let them know. And obviously it definitely helps you when you're going through and seeing for the next day, do you need to go back and review something, reteach something? The assessments are such a critical part of your lesson planning, because that lets you know, and it's your way of sort of monitoring them day by day to sort of know where they're at and how can you help them continue in progress. What I noticed for teachers that I observed was they used a lot of formative assessments, such as exit tickets and think, pair, share, think alouds, just like sort of just getting kind of answers from them and seeing how they're responding to a text, to something that you just introduced, whether it's sequence or main idea, just by what they're saying. Very informal. And summative assessments, what I observed, were very hands-on, and I think I really, really liked that. ESL teachers don't have a whole lot of time with their students, like homerooms. Homerooms are like 90 minutes long. Sometimes ESL teachers have them for about 45 minutes. So the project is really sort of a fun way to get them engaged, and so I saw a lot of one teacher who I also interviewed, Peggy, she did plays with them where they have to act out the story, and then she films them and gives them a copy of the film so they can really see themselves and how they're, how they act and how they perform, and just see the whole kind of show. So that was really, really cool. And in my observations, I know that one teacher, Nina Garcia, who I interviewed, uses a lot of technology. Like, she tries to use as much as technology as she possibly can, and she puts that inside of her lessons. So she likes to introduce any subject, any topic that she wants to teach. She wants to always introduce them through a video, maybe a short clip of a movie, anything, but something very visual where she has to use technology. And she says that she likes to do that and she finds it to be very effective because obviously this generation is very visual. I don't know any child who hasn't at least had some kind of screen time. So that's the kind of the students that we teach. So visuals are so critical for them. And so especially movies, kind of video, action, animation, something they really respond to. Um and that's what she tries to use. And so she finds that to be very effective and she puts that in her planning um when she's trying to plan out what she wants to do. Another thing that I saw, fourthly, was to have differentiation. Differentiate your lesson for ELLs, SPEDs, special education students, and also or a student who really benefits from hands-on activities. So to differentiate is definitely something that is very, very critical to your lesson planning. That's definitely a part that you have to also focus on after you've already done your objective and your assessment, what you want to do for that. You also have to think about, okay, how can I break this down for my ELL, or how can I, what kind of work can I give my special education student that that they can also reach the content, but in a way that they can actually do it and show that they understand. The lessons that I observed were very student centered. The teachers that showed me their lesson plans, they were very student centered, and even they would tell me that they teach for 10 minutes and then they let the kids take over. It's their turn to apply what they just learned. Nina, for example, doesn't believe in having all the time just talking herself. The students have to actually go and do something. And I think even as a teacher, like if it's just you, honestly, that's very exhausting. I think you have to give them time to apply what they're learning. And if it's just you, they're not going to learn, and they're not going to show you that they're learning, and they won't feel like they're learning. I think, and I think they want to also be invested and take responsibility for what you're teaching, and show you and apply what they're learning. I've shared this many times. This is my first year as an ESL teacher, as a full-time teacher. Very first year, and they say it takes time really to get into the rhythm of teaching and knowing your stuff, kind of thing. And you're obviously going to be constantly learning new things, which is great. But I think with this module, I really learned step by step all the ingredients that I need in a very good lesson plan. And I really appreciate that because now it's kind of, I know the top 3 things that I definitely need, which is my standard, a strong objective, and an assessment. And also, after you have those 3, hands-on activities and strategies to engage your students through Turn and Talk, Think, Pair, Share, and so many others from Kagan that you can use to engage your students in what you're teaching. So all of that stuff, it was very kind of in the backdrop, in the background about lesson planning, kind of heard of those things before, but now I actually had to practice doing it and think of lesson plans and think of activities that I really, as a first year teacher, I'm still planning week by week. Oh, thank God it's the end of the school year. But this whole school year has been so stressful because I never really knew how to do that. And so I was planning week by week, which is very exhausting. I'm going to approach this so differently next year. I'm going to plan way ahead and plan for 6 weeks ahead if I can. I've learned so much in this module, and it seemed repetitive, but I think that repetitiveness makes it stick in your brain. And the more practice you get, lesson planning, the better you're going to get at it. And I definitely enjoyed speaking to so many teachers and looking at their lesson plans and seeing how they planned their lessons. That was very helpful.